Hello fellow warlords of small plastic soldiers and monsters, and welcome back to another Kings of War battle report. This is the second video from Terrain Wreck, but don't let that throw you off. This isn't some kind of thing where you need to know the results from the first to get the second and it's all kind of tournament heavy. It's really just a fun event because what is Terrain Wreck about? It is about lots and lots of terrain. It was conceived by Dan Bird, yes, that Dan Bird, the famous painter, and he wanted an event that was full of terrain, that was themed, that was just fun to have, and everyone would just want to go onto different tables every round because of the joy of being on a table that was not just, the standard layout of terrain. Now, this was 1995 points, so it means that, you got some restrictions, but there's no restrictions on terrain, and you'll see that in this game. Now, just to give you a little bit of history, and again, I'm not trying to make this like a tournament, but I did win my first round against the Bissell Dwarves, which was a good match, a good showing from pretty much very newbie player, Dean, and he did a great job, and a great job at painting as well. So I think he learned some things from those games, and I went on to continue fighting, and this time going against Andy Whitehead of Direct Misfire fame. Now, I've been against him multiple times, but most often it's actually been against his Night Stalkers. There's 2 battle reports on this very channel where I'm going against his Night Stalker army list. But this time he's brought back the Undead, and he's brought a very strange list to what is supposed to be a terrain-heavy tournament, and you'll see what I mean. So, starting off here, we've got some very standard stuff, like Skeleton Spearman Regiments, 2 of those, very good. Good scoring unit, gets in the way. 2 troops of Wraiths, some of the best chaff you can get in the game. Soul Reaver Infantry Regiments with Blood of the Old King makes them very, very mincy. They're going to chop through pretty much anything on the battlefield. 2 Hordes of Wights, which you can't go wrong with. They're fantastic, these big flying, crushing 2 large infantry monsters. Then we have the crazy thing. This is the crazy thing. A horde of Revenant Cavalry. Yes, with Sir Jesse's Boots of Striding, so it will ignore terrain for 1 turn. It'll get Pathfinder and Strider. But a horde of cavalry. Now, if you're maybe new to Kings of War, you're not familiar with how the criticism of different kinds of units, of certain sizes, like everyone would say, oh, a legion of infantry is probably not a good idea. Well, in that same category sits a horde of cavalry. A horde of cavalry is really wide. It's huge. Takes up a lot of space. They're usually a lot of points because if you think of a normal heavy cavalry unit, it's usually pushing just over 200 points. What happens when you want to double that size again? You get double the attacks. You don't get double the nerve, but you get a considerable nerve bump. Then yeah, it starts to cost a lot, and this is 315 points. So it's the same price as some of those fancy Titans that some people like to have. So yes. We all thought he was mad when he said he was bringing a cavalry horde to a terrain event where it will probably be perpetually hindered. And of all the kinds of cavalry to be hindered, Revenant Cavalry are some of the worst because they're a melee 4, so they don't hit very well anyway, so that if they get hindered, they'll be -1, and they only have Thunderous Charge. Like, they don't have any crushing, so their Thunderous Charge will also be directly impacted. So they're just, yeah, it was just like, oh, okay, Andy, see it. Whatever, you do you. And to his credit, he does it quite well. So obviously he won his first game to get against me, so something's working for him, but yeah, we'll see how it goes in this game. And then after that, we have a Vampire Lord with Blood Rage and Gnome Glass Shield, a perfect combination, so he can go very choppy, very hard, but also he's got some nice defense until it breaks. And 2 Necromancers, both with Drain Life 4, they don't have Inspiring, no Inspiring Talisman, and Morgoth the Faceless, who comes with all his amazing spells, Bane Chant 3, Drain Life 4, Mind Fog 3, and Surge 10, and I think he can cast 2 of them. You cast one, you can cast another, something like that, and he can move at the double and cast. Like, he's a very good caster. In fact, he's now called Morgoth the Mandatory. And I don't have a Morgoth model yet, so I should get one, but until I do, I won't be running him in my Undead. But there you go, there's his list. It's all pretty standard until you get to the Revenant Cavalry Horde in a terrain-filled tournament. But we'll see how it goes for him. Now, what was I bringing? Well, it's in the title, so we already know. It's the Trident Realms, and it's a pretty different kind of list to what a normal Trident Realms army would be. Because if you've seen any of my previous reports, it's things like I normally like to bring Gigas, I like to bring Placoderms, I like to bring all the stuff that's really quite tough. But given it was lots of terrain, I thought the best strategy was to make an army that can completely ignore it. So we have 2 regiments of Naiad Ensnarers, a troop of River Guard, 2 hordes of Water Elementals, 1 horde of Ocean-born Naiad Worm Riders, with the Blood of the Old King to also make them very choppy, because they're quite nasty now. With melee 320 attacks, crushing 1, why not give them Vicious and Elite for 1 turn? Fantastic. A Greater Water Elemental. Oh, strange, but that's to help the Naiad Ensnarers be a little bit more resilient. Then we have 2 Knuckers, some of the best kind of chaffy and also combating monsters, just get in amongst things, really ruining your enemy's plans. Then you have a Kraken, but not just any Kraken, it's Cthulhu, the Tidebringer, who gets to Inspiring and Thunderous Charge 1. He also, it's an aura, but really nothing in this army is benefiting from that, so it's really just the fact that he gets Thunderous Charge 1, so he's crushing 2 Thunderous Charge 1, so that's pretty good, and he also has the Inspiring. So he's my first source of Inspiring, and then I also have the Full Mythicon as a source of Bane Chant and Surge, should I need it, and the Naiad Envoy with Bastion. And Bastion is fantastic because it gives that rally. And so the whole idea is that this army can move through terrain with very little problems. It won't be hindered ever, really. And there's ways to make things that are normally not great bumped up. I've got Bane Chant to help the Water Elementals because they don't hit too hard. You want them to. And I've got Bastion and the Greater Water Elemental to make those Naiad Ensnarers actually stick around a little bit longer than they should. So that's the whole synergy of this list, and it's probably only made possible by the fact that I can get into terrain, I can move in terrain, and I'm hoping that I will be taking lots of hindered charges into ensnaring stuff. The terrible -2 combination for my opponent. So that's the method to my madness, but it's just nice to take some models that I normally don't take. So that was also quite novel and fun as well for this event. And I think that's just good. That event just makes you take a really different list. You don't just go, yes, the perfect list that I use every time and I'm automizing for the Masters. You go, no, I'm going to go straight back to the drawing board and just chuck things in that I normally wouldn't. Like the Kraken. I haven't taken the Kraken for a long time, and obviously I haven't taken him with this upgrade. And I have to say, he's actually quite fantastic. So, now that I've ranted about lists, let's get into the game. So, we're back at the Dwarf King's Hold, but I'm on the other side. Just how the tables turned out. And I didn't mind. Andy hadn't been on this table, and, my priority as one of the tournament organizers, or pseudo-tournament organizers, is I wanted everyone else to be experiencing as much of the different tables as possible. So if I have to take 2 in a row, I don't really mind. And you all get to see the table from the other perspective. So it's an interesting table because it's got a lot of very cool pieces that have been printed by Jeff Holland, who is a master 3D printer in our gaming group. And so he's got a filament printer for the big terrains, and he's got a nice resin printer for all the prizes at his Convic event that he likes to run with Andrew Goodman and Matthew Selleck. So anyway, enough on the side tangents. Let's get into what's here. So we have terrain. That's obviously lots of terrain. This one, there's not heaps of terrain, but they're very big pieces. So we've got 3 hills, because this is the Dwarf King's Hold. So we're in the mountains. So 3 hills, boom, boom, boom. That hill, bloody massive. Then we have 2 flat pieces of terrain, an obstacle right here, 3 massive pieces of blocking terrain. So those are pretty cool. So this is a big kind of Dwarf King's Tower here, and we've got a brewery, and we've got just a fort over here as well. So there's plenty of terrain around, and lots of line of sight blocking too. But I don't have much shooting. He doesn't have much shooting, so we're just going to try and get each other into fight. Now the scenario. Well, what's the scenario? Well, I got it right here. It's pillage. And that means we have a whole bunch of tokens, 7 tokens spread out across the battlefield. We take turns placing them, blah, 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 and I'll show you them once with some pictures thereafter. But first, before I do, let's get rid of that. Let's talk about where my units are. So the deployment, what have I got down? So I will start with my army, keep it nice and quick. I have here the 2 Naiad regiments on the left with the Nuka in tow right behind them. And then I have Cthulhu the Tidebringer, the Kraken, right there. So he's just kind of ready to go either to the left or to the right. In front of him are also the little troop of River Guard. Hopefully just going to look out for some flanks and do some nice little bit of damage. This little individual here is the Naiad Envoy with a very inspiring aura, so it's very helpful and ready to cast bastion, wherever it may need to be. And then I have here in the middle a bunch of my hard stuff, and also things that can go over that obstacle right there, because I can see myself charging over it. So I have my 3 Strider units. I have the lesser, I guess you could call them, water elementals, and the greater water elemental in the middle. I really wish the greater water elemental also did Radiance of Life for other water elementals. That would be nice, but what are you going to do? That'd be a very long special rule. And then right here are the Worm Riders. So these are the Oceanborn Worm Riders, and I think in front right there is the Mythicon. I may be wrong, but I think that's the Mythicon there. And then we have the Kraken right here on the right. So I've pretty much deployed everything between this building and the side of the board, ignoring the right side here. There's some tokens there that I probably shouldn't be completely ignoring, but splitting up my army would... Well, I wouldn't be able to just drop a few things down here, and as I was seeing Andy drop his stuff, I just knew I just wouldn't be able to contend this right side. And I have a general rule. You may be familiar with this rule from other battle reports, but the rule is don't split up your army unless you've got a very, very, very good reason, and even then it'll probably backfire. Because if you look at a lot of my old battle reports, we all know if I split my army, things go wrong. That half or third or quarter of the army gets picked off, or it's too scared to jump out, and then whatever's remaining is now taking on the complete might of the opponent's army, and they're only half strength, whatever, and so it just doesn't work out. So I usually these days try and keep it all together, just because otherwise I don't trust myself to be able to execute the plan properly. Now let's get into Andy's deployments. So what do we got? Well, we have right over here on the right, we have the Soul Reaver infantry, some of the faster units, they should be able to get in. We have then the whites, 1 horde of whites. Then we have, that's the Blood Rage Vampire right there. So that's the little contingent over there that's going to try and make its way around this large piece of blocking terrain. Then we have the Skeleton Regiment, 1 troop of Wraiths, the Cavalry Horde right here, being all big and massive. And then we have a whole slew of characters. There's the 2 Necromancers right there, and we have Morgoth the Mandatory, the real Morgoth model, mind you, so that's pretty cool. And then another troop of Wraiths, and then another Skeleton Regiment. And then over here on the left, all by the lonesome, are the other whites. So he's only got 2 sources of inspiring, but one of them is very inspiring. So we've got, very inspiring Morgoth here, who will always be around his stuff. But we have also the Vampire with the Gnome Glass Shield, but he might be going off by himself. So it's interesting that he hasn't got much inspiring for this whole army. But it is all fearless, so apart from the vampires. So I guess it has that going for it. So yeah, that's the state of the deployment, and we'll see how we go. I've got this large cavalry, this cavalry horde will be coming through the middle, and I have a few things ready to take it down. But he's got whites coming in from either side, and Soul Reavers. So there's this. It's not the only hammer to worry about. There's actually really dangerous stuff as well. But I've got to deal with that cavalry horde and try not to let it get any cool charges off. So that's the deployment. So yeah, pointing to tokens. So under here is one of the tokens, one of the pillage tokens, and then over here we didn't like the colors, so we changed them. So yeah, we've got one. This is the second one over there near his whites. Third one right in the middle. Fourth one underneath one of his wraiths, and the 5th, 6th over here, and there's the 7th. So there's 3 in total over there. So yeah, actually, just looking back at this, the distribution of tokens, like he's pretty much got like 3 in the bag, unless I actually went and picked this one up. And so yeah, that's not great. But yeah, that's just how they went down. I really should have been thinking about how I was putting them down. Sometimes you gotta... Oh, and there's another blocking terrain. I didn't even introduce that. And oh no, obstacle, another blocking terrain. But I can assure you, they will not come into this battle report whatsoever. But there you go. That's the tokens, and we'll remember them on turn 6. And it's turn 1, and these are the Soul Reaver infantry. They're actually the Graveguard models. He's painted them very nicely. He's gone for a whole purple, lots of purple and green in his army. Is his kind of shtick. That's how he does it. So yeah, we have the Soul Reaver infantry coming up, moving up quite fast at the double. There's the slow whites at the back. They can't go very fast. Over here, the cavalry horde has just moved up onto the hill. looking all threatening and very cool, I might add. It's definitely a cool thing to see, a cavalry horde. You just don't normally see it. Yeah, trying to precariously balance it. These whites haven't moved yet, but also these are pictures just showing off his army. It's a good looking army. Alright, there we go. Now it's all moved. So yeah, we've got the cavalry horde going up, we've got the wraiths either side ready to jump in and get in the way, and a whole bunch of characters just ready to do stuff like, yeah, all that drain life. He's got a lot of drain life. There's 2 drain life 4s on the necromancers, and then drain life 7 on Morgoth. So there's a lot of wounds that can get just shifted around, pulled off me and healing them, so it could be quite the nasty grind going on here. And I don't have really much healing capability beyond the innate regeneration that almost my entire army has. So actually I shouldn't complain. I can get wounds back, no problem. And there's the whites coming up, so it's getting a bit close. Yeah, just looking at the way... Oh, and there's the vampire, or sprinting ahead as well, so already things are not being inspired, but I don't have any shooting to capitalize on it. A shame. So I move up, and the way I was approaching this was, I need to first get in here and take on this cavalry horde, because I don't know if I let these guys get any further in. So let's say turn 2, they'll move up here. So then we'll have the cavalry horde about here. They won't be able to go out the double because there'll be terrain in the way. But they'll get this far, and then they will have to... then I'll be hitting them here. Or they might charge me from there. But then at the same time, these guys will be perfectly positioned. So these are the flanking units I'm talking about. Like the Soul Reavers will be in as well, aside. So in turn 2, they'll be here. We'll have the whites here. And so they'll be facing at the flanks. And if I don't get through that grind quick enough, I will die. So what I'm thinking is I need to get to them where they are. I need to fight them here. Therefore, when these guys turn in, they still won't be able to engage in that fight. They'll have to do another turn of movement to be involved in this fight. So that's the thinking. So what I've done to delay the whites on the left, I've got Naiad and Snarers just going to sit there and see how they go. And then over in the middle, everything's just kind of moved up and angled inwards, so that if he does feel like doing the charge, because I can't charge this turn, there's not really, he can't double charge anything here. Because of his massive cavalry horde. So the cavalry horde would only be able to pick one of these things, and it won't even be able to charge the greater water elementals. So it has to pick water elementals or water elementals, and that's obviously not a great choice, because he may not kill them because they are fearless and really tough. And even if he does, I've got ways to then punish him for that. So that was the smart situation that I was setting up. At least I thought it was reasonably smart. And I've got my Nuka over here ready to take on a flank as well. So anything that goes in will find itself in a nasty position. At least that was the theory. And so I managed to cast Bastion on my Greater Water Elemental. So usually the Greater Water Elemental is in the middle of my forces, and so I actually enjoy casting Bastion on it, because then boom, everyone's getting a nerve bump around it. Pretty good. Turn 2. So, when I moved up my ensnarers, they were actually in range, like 10 inches. Also, so was the Nuka. So he decided to move his whites backwards. Scared whites. So they've just moved on backwards. In fact, lots of his army moved backwards, including, the cavalry, the regiments of skeleton. They're all just moved backwards. So, they're just moving backwards, just trying to get out of range. Because, lots of my stuff was in range. But here, one fight that did happen is the whites... wraiths went into the Nuka, because they could see it, and so I thought, okay, that's not too bad. And here's the nasty vampire already getting in amidst my lines, not fighting yet, but that's not a good situation. So my Nuka there being on the side maybe wasn't the best situation, but I thought, let's put him out there and figure it out. And now I have these, as I was worried about, the Soul Reavers coming in ready to start hitting flanks. So I don't want to be here, I want to be somewhere else. And so the worst situation is that these wraiths managed to waver my Nuka, which I thought was very surprising considering they're just melee 4. So they were hitting on 5s because I'm ensnaring, but they managed to actually do some damage. So now I have a wavered Nuka, and in this particular position there's not much it can do, because it's just going to back away and face, what, Soul Reavers? That's definitely a death sentence. And it's my turn here, so you can see all my so I charged everything in, as you can see down here. Everything charged in. And he just gave a thumbs like, yeah, this is gonna hurt. So this is him giving the thumbs up to the punishment that is about to be meted out to him. So yeah, this is Andrew Whitehead. If you haven't seen him, which you might not have, because on Direct Misfire, they don't show their faces. It's almost like they're just not confident. Come on, guys, you're good looking. Just, get yourselves out there. Anyway, enough about that. So yes, charge everything in. So let's actually look at the battlefield mode, Andy. And we have pretty much everything apart from, surprisingly, you might think, Naiad and Snarers going in. Naiad and Snarers are not very good in combat. So the Naiad and Snarers are just sitting here. One on the left to take the charge from the whites, and then one over here just peeking over the hill to hit those whites in the flank, which will probably do nothing, but hey, it's good enough. And I've got my envoy lying on his side, but doing very inspiring to this whole area here, so that's why he's there. If he stood up, he falls down, because, yeah, it's a hill. What are you going to do? But in terms of charges, do we have... there we go, something a bit better. So yeah, we've gone into the Spearman Regiment with my Kraken and a Knucker in the flank, so that should definitely be dead. He had his wraiths... I don't even think I described that in the previous round, so I apologize. But he has his wraiths chaffing up his horde, so that I wouldn't be able to hit it with everything I have. So instead I've hit the wraiths with my Oceanborn Worm Riders, and hit the horde with the Water Elementals and the Greater Water Elemental, because there's a little smidgen of base there, where my Greater Water Elemental could still make contact. The other Water Elementals, I still didn't want to leave these skeletons ready to charge in a flank, even though, hindsight, I shouldn't have been worried about it, because they have terrible melee value, and they would have been hindered. So, like, what would they have done? They would have chewed up his clock is what they would have done. So I probably should have kept these guys back. But, as I described last time, I was cognizant of the incoming flank charges from stuff. So I kind of used this as a way to get my army out of the situation that we're in. Especially when shambling stuff normally doesn't move very fast. So when you get to charge, you're suddenly like flying. And over here, well, the Knucker did turn around. I thought, well, I better face the Soul Reavers, because if I have to face something, Soul Reavers are the preference. So I'd rather they be ensnared, and then just hopefully these guys will die, because I've got my River Guard going into the flank of the Wraiths. Because River Guard, they've got a reasonable amount of attacks. They're kind of berserkerish infantry, and yeah, in a flank, well, we'll see. We'll just see how they go. It is defense 6 though, so that is the downside. And unfortunately, my guy here will probably be Bane chanting the water elementals so that they can take out those skeletons. So, yeah, just limited resources here, but that's what 1995 points does to you. Then we have combats going on. Oh, yeah, and here, yeah. So I Bane chanted these water elementals. And we can see the results of combats already. That's what's happened here. Oh, sorry, it's just all slowly updating to my brain. So we can already see Skeleton Regiment on the right, dead. Skeleton Regiment on the left, dead. We've got water elementals turning in to face those unfortunate cavalry horde. We have a Knucker facing the cavalry horde. The Kraken's kind of stuck because he was flush with that. But I didn't manage to kill the Wraiths with the Oceanborn Worm Riders, doing 6 damage only. But, they are defense 6, and so maybe I should have been Bane chanting these. I did do a bunch of damage to the horde, but I wasn't going to take it off in one go. These are water elementals. Who was I kidding? So I really should have just Bane chanted the Oceanborn Worm Riders, but, that's hindsight here. Now that's what this is. This is a hindsight channel where I just give you my hindsight. I think the most disappointing thing here, though, is over here. Unfortunately, we have only 3 damage done to the Wraiths. It's, yeah. So, yeah. Dead, deaders, and sad. 3 damage done to Wraiths. That's not really worth it, and definitely not putting them in the danger zone. So now, well, guess what? They can still charge into the rear of my Knucker and probably take it out by itself. And I've got these guys in a not great position, because I'd prefer to turn them to face the incoming nastiness with their ensnaring facing forwards. But, they're stuck here. I probably should have done the math, so it probably wasn't actually a very high chance at all. Turn 3. So, now, how does Andy hit back? Well, he does hit back in multiple ways. I don't know if you can see from the screen, but there's a few counter charges. 1 counter charge and then a bunch of charges. I mean, I did take out a considerable amount of stuff, but it was just skeletons. So, that's not really breaking the bank for him. So what do we have? We have over here on the left. Oh, no, on the right. On the right. I don't get to choose which way these go. Yes, the fact that these Wraiths were not taken out meant that they could just, by themselves, go into the rear of the Knucker and probably take it out. And which leaves then the Soul Reavers and the Vampire to together take out the poor frogs. So that's what's happening there. It's going to be a lot of dead stuff surrounded by undead stuff. And there's just these whites just being like, well, we can contribute at some point, but you know, don't wait for us. In the middle, well, we've just got obviously a counter charge into the water elementals because he decided it's got slightly less nerve than the greater water elemental. You know, it's regen 5+ rather than regen 4+. So he thought, oh, why not? But I mean, he's disordered, so he won't have any thunderous. It's not going to be pretty. And the wraiths are going back into the Oceanborn Worm Riders. But the whites that were originally fleeing and running away from the terrifying ensnarers have decided to stand up for themselves and realize their true potential by going into said ensnarers and probably clobber them. But we'll see. Can ensnaring ensnarers save themselves? So damage is done, and the horde, despite being no thunderous, I think he did manage to get a Bane Chan off, and so a huge amount of attacks did do the trick in the end and kill those water elementals. So they're gone, but I've still got water elementals all around, and yeah, the wraiths do some damage. So 3 damage isn't bad, but you know, I'll regen it. I'm not worried. But the life leech is annoying because that was some difficult damage to do. Over here, 7 damage on ensnarers, and when inspired, not really that dangerous. And oh, I even bastioned them, so yeah, they're probably going to stick around. But over here, yes, as predicted, when you get a rear of wraiths, they're going to probably hurt something, and the thing they hurt was the boar knucker, so that's dead. And then a whole bunch of vampires in a flank is definitely a death knell for frogs. So that's how you kill frogs if you have a frog problem. Just get some local vampires. Ooh. And they move back to try and outrun their doom, but I don't know if it will save them, so we'll see. But right now it's forcing a front charge. And now it's my turn. So over here, I've brought in both the ensnarers into the whites, because surely two regiments of ensnarers can take down whites. Not really. I mean, it's just 24 attacks, melee 4, no crushing, so I doubt it. But you know, at least we're holding them up. But at this point, I think the points evens out. It's the same amount of points holding each other up, so I don't know if that's a good use of my time. But that is what's happening. Whereas over here in the middle, we've got... Oh, so yeah, let's show that. 5 damage there. Managed to regen a little bit. Just 2. Over here, countercharging obviously with the Worm Riders, but we have the first charge with the Greater Water Elemental right into the front, and I've just moved these guys a little bit sideways, kind of rotated, pivoted, moved forward, so that now when I get surged, and this is my first surge of the tournament, and probably my first surge of Water Elementals for a year. I think the last time I surged anything in Trident Realm Army was against Page Neo in Singapore back in 2023. Jeez. So yeah, we're finally surging. So take that, Undead. I can surge too. And my poor Kraken was in the position he was, just actually straight up couldn't see anything. So I had to move him over here and just turn him sideways. So that wasn't great. But the cool thing is my Knucker is now in the rear of these wraiths. So that should definitely kill the wraiths. Right? Right? And so here we are, we're about to surge, and we did! Successful surge, success, and we're into a flank, so now that probably should kill them, hopefully. Probably, definitely, so they're dead. They're gone, so we've destroyed the cavalry horde, mission accomplished. Don't worry, boys, we can rest easy, but now there's still actually the rest of his army to worry about, so let's see how we go with that. And then over here, we did a whole bunch of damage, look at that, that's a lot of damage, but they're still there, so I must have rolled a double 1. In fact, I think I had to have rolled a double 1. There's no alternative. That is in excess of their nerves. They are devastated, and I rolled a double 1. So that's not great. I normally take a picture of such a devastating double 1, but perhaps the grief just overwhelmed me so much that I just couldn't take any more photos at the time and just didn't want to capture the memory. But you can see that there's a bit of a blurriness to this picture, so it maybe was like the racking sobs as I was holding the camera that were happening, and I just couldn't contain myself, and so that's what was happening here. But alas, I am still stuck in this position. I was hoping to kill them, turn around, and face all the nasty stuff that has just dealt with my poor Knucker and Riverguard. But unfortunately, we're still stuck into these bloody wraiths. It's going to be 3 turns by the time they're dead. And then over here, we have, yeah, just a 3 damage. 24 attacks, 3 damage. That's not really worth it, but we'll see if we can get better than that. Ugh. And over here, what are we measuring? Distances. Are my Oceanborn Worm Riders in danger? I don't know. Turn 4. We'll find out if they're in danger. So, this picture. Very close up. What am I showing here? I wonder. I guess Heinrich Kemmler's cool. I don't know. But my Kraken's doing stuff. Yeah, so we've just got everything. Oh yeah, no, things have changed. Sorry, subtle things have moved. But we've got double Wraith attack. So this Wraith's obviously still in the front, but now I've got Wraiths in the flank. So the Soul Reavers, thankfully, were not in range of the Ocean-born Worm Riders. They just had to walk up. But these Wraiths were, and so they're in the flank. Which, you know, on a normal day, you could probably take. But now I've still got the ones in the front, and I've still got all that Drain Life. I've got 2 Necromancers, so that's 8 Drain Life from there, 7 Drain Life from the back. So guess what's going to happen? All that wounds are going to go away, and they're all going to go onto me. So these Ocean-born Worm Riders are going to take a whole bunch of damage. Meanwhile, Rock Whites are still bashing into Naiads. I think they've gone to the regiment that's already damaged to just hopefully kill it. And everything else is just moving up. So there we go. We just got the old Soul Reavers moving up. My Mythicin is getting taken on by the now Duelist Vampire. And Duelist, remember, is now triple attacks. So he was very excited. He's like, oh, my first time rolling triple attacks. Oh. So yeah, I was like, oh, good for you, poor Mythicin. And so now the damage is going to get done. So let's see. Boom. Oh, it's just more pictures. I was just taking 5 damage so far, and that was just for the Drain Life, so you can see that they've healed up a bunch. And then, with that 5 damage, and then the combat, that killed them. So, you can't regenerate when you're dead. So, we've still got these wraiths around, and these ones are actually starting to get healthier and healthier. So, bloody hell, I can't get through these Defense 6 wraiths. I really need to just concentrate on them, apparently. And apparently, a Knucker in the rear and a Worm Rider in the front, but that was double ones. That's how the game goes. So now we just got to deal with all this annoying chaff that's still somehow alive. But the Duelist did work. It took out the Mythicin, so the Mythicin is no longer taken out by the Vampire, who then just moves forward. And yes, the Whites managed to take out their prey and are now facing the last of the Ensnares. They turn to face them, and then I charge them. That's what's going on here, because now it's my turn. So charged with the Ensnarers over there. We've got Knucker into the flank of the damaged Wraiths, so that should take them out. And I thought I'd better start taking out some of these Necromancers. Also, because the poor Kraken couldn't really see anything. So after he fought here, and then he moved over here to turn, and then the Cavalry Horde dies, there wasn't that to charge, and then he's like, well, I guess I'll just start taking out some Necromancers, but that's not a very good use of a Kraken, I do have to admit. But when you have no choice, you gotta take it. So I've charged this Necromancer, so I'll hopefully just kill him, overrun, kill him, and then, yeah, I'll have killed 2 Necromancers, which will be fun, and I can just turn and face the rest of the army and start helping out. So that's the plan over there. And yeah, we've charged this, the Vampire with my Water Elementals, just hoping to break that Gnome Glass Shield that I totally forgot was there. He's just like, oh, and it's Defense 6. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't actually done anything to it yet. It's still Defense 6. So that surprised me. Greater Water Elemental has gone into the Soul Reavers just to hold them up. Just need to slow them down. And hopefully the way it's all positioned is that, yeah, I can't get hit by the Whites, so I'm just going to hopefully hold things up a little bit. But we shall see. So I do 5 damage to his Necromancer, but I don't kill it. So that's not great. So the Kraken is stopped by a Necromancer. Oh no. And then over here the Water Elemental is just trying to crash through these guys, but just does 3 damage to the Soul Reavers, so that's no problem. They can handle that. I do manage to take out with the Knucker in the flank these Wraiths. So that's 1 Wraith I don't have to worry about, but that was an easy one. That was on 9 damage. So now I've got a whole healthy one right here that I need to deal with. And yeah, we're slowly doing damage, but it's like the Life Leech is almost competing with the damage output of Ensnarers. So yeah, we're really just here pacing for time. And we do 2 damage, but we did some damage at least, so we got through the Defense 6. So Gnome Glass Shield shattered. And there we go. So we're totally held up, and yeah, that's the state of the board. Is that what I'm showing here? It must be. Yeah. Why am I doing another round of pictures? Now it should be his. When does it become turn 5? I think I took a picture. Yeah, when I noticed it there. So actually, it's turn 5 here. So that's wrong. Turn 5. But yeah, what we have is Wraiths into the flank of my unfortunate Water Elementals that just got stuck by the vampire, but vampires are pretty chunky. Over here, yeah, we're just continuing to fight. And then, Ensnarers continuing to fight. So it's just a grind fest, and unfortunately, Undead are pretty dang good at the grind. Especially when all my different parts are now split from each other. And so unfortunately, Wraith in the flank and a Blood Range Vampire are enough to take out the Water Elementals, so they're gone, which is quite surprising, because they're on full health, so I was surprised by that. But then also, I don't have any Inspiring nearby, because the Mythic is dead. So, sad. So that's gone. And the Greater Water Elemental is gone, and that's thanks to a whole bunch of Drain Life combined with the sheer damage output of Soul Reavers, which is considerable. And the Whites managed to finally wrest themselves free from the Ensnarers, and not that much worse off for it. Only 3 damage by the end of it, so yeah, it didn't quite work there. And yeah, we've got my Kraken here who's just got 1 damage done to him by the Necromancer. So he's even disordered now, so he can't even just charge through him. So I'll have to try and actually kill this Necromancer before I can do anything else. And so on my turn, I kill the Necromancer. But then I overrun 1 inch. So it's not exactly the... I don't even think I could have overrun to Jarvis, but I was hoping to. And so as the game ends, I was just like, well, just don't kill my Knucker, so I just get out of the way. I just run away. And turn 6, that's the direct misfire dice. So I just shuffle sideways with this guy to go get the token. So I have 1. The Blood Rage Vampire goes in to fight me, but I hopefully should survive because I'm inspiring, I'm quite high nerve, I've only got 1 damage on me. And now we're all just scrambling for various tokens around. And I think I do survive. 5 damage, that's alright. And that was it. So yeah, I get that 1 token over there. I don't think I got my Knucker over to a token. I think the plan was if there was a turn 7, I would go towards that one, but I just didn't want to be here because if I pick this one up, there's all kinds of things that will just kill me and then pick it up. So in the end, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So yeah, no turn 7, and so that was the end. Just yeah. It was a great game. Really enjoyed it. It was I felt like it was pretty close, and I did like having that turn 2 charge. It was pretty ridiculous how it happened, but yeah, it was. How should I have done it differently? Well, I reckon I shouldn't have just. Maybe I should have held back and trying to goad the cavalry horde into a charge, so that it would get in a terrible situation, flanked by all sorts of ways. And so probably the most important thing would have been not putting that Knucker on the side, perhaps. What I should have done, perhaps, with the Ensnarers is use them at the front of my army instead of putting them off on the left, and use them to take a charge. Then my actual powerful things, well, quote-unquote powerful, can charge in without being hurt. And then to try and have Knuckers deal with the Whites instead, just kind of hold them off for a bit. Because the Knuckers obviously have much faster than White, so it might have actually worked. But, that's all the hindsight you can think of. But yeah, Morgoth, very good. Blood Rage Vampire, very good. And the Cavalry Horde, it's surprisingly good, just purely out of the resilience that it has. It just took a lot to take it down. So yeah, that's the battle. It was, after 1 win, now it's a loss. I think, we're alternating wins and losses against Andy Whitehead every time. So it's... hopefully that means when I go against him at the next tournament, which we have another narrative event coming up, that I'll clobber him right good and proper, and I can report back to you on a successful event. But until then, it's him with the upper hand. But yeah, I still very much enjoyed this army on this particular table, and I'm happy to say that in the 3rd and final game of this tournament, I go onto a different table, and one that is very exciting indeed. I think you'll all agree. So look forward to that battle report coming up soon, and please, if you have any criticism, comments about my performance, my army, my gameplay, or Andy's beautiful army, please put them all down below, because those things feed some kind of algorithm thing. But overall, just give it a like, subscribe if you're not subscribed, because there's not much Kings of War content out on this internets, and I'm here contributing to it as much as I can through the YouTubes. There's other good things. If you want more content, then there's plenty of places you can go. I would recommend Countercharge podcast. There's also the Unplugged 2.0 podcast, very good. Obviously the Mantic Universe podcast, but if you're only into Kings of War, you might have to be a bit selective with which episodes you want to listen to. So those are good content places to find. Obviously on YouTube, we've got Death by Dragons, we've got Page Neo with Newbie Dice, We've even got ᗪEᗪᗪ with his Lazy Pirate Gaming. There's a few nice choices for Kings of War content. Oh, and there's Mark Otley with his Hordes of things. Yeah, the list goes on. And obviously, my final plug is to, if you want to go buy some Kings of War stuff and you're in Australia, then I would definitely go get your Kings of War or any Mantic products that you need to get from Pathfinder Gaming. So that's a get 5% off if you use there's a code down below, Caffeinated Warlord. Just copy and paste that in and you get 5% off, which is not bad. Because he just made more discounts for the store. So I think I used to give 15% off, but everything rejigs itself. But hey, 5% off, better than nothing. And if you need your Mantic stuff and you want it soon, yeah. So, yeah, like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.